It is my great honor to be here today on behalf of Bob Gillen, the Assistant Deputy Attorney General, who sends his regrets about not being able to be here today. And he does have some messages that he's asked me to convey. Normally I try to give presentations with minimal reference to notes, but just to make sure that I properly convey his messages, I'm going to use this table. Bob Gillen, as Susan has already referred to, has had a long passion for restorative justice. He, a number of years ago, had traveled to New Zealand and to Australia to look at their programs. And when I was in his office the other day, he made a point of pointing out to me that in an office that's very full of a number of different resource materials, he has an entire bookshelf that consists of restorative justice materials just on display in terms of resources he frequently lends to people about restorative justice. So it is an issue that is very much foremost on his mind. I've been asked this morning to talk about his vision for the future of restorative justice in terms of the criminal justice branch's responsibility, and that's the BC Prosecution Service of BC's vision going forward. And there's few themes in particular around that vision that I'm going to talk about this morning. The first is that he has asked me to convey that he is extremely supportive about the increased and expanded use of restorative justice in this province. He has been and will continue to be very supportive of the use of restorative justice with respect to youth and adult cases in all appropriate cases across this province. One issue that I know was highlighted on yesterday by some people in some of the seminars is the reality that for Crown Counsel, the cases that are coming to us to look at the charge assessment stage are, for the most part now, the more serious cases. The police in this province have done a remarkable job with respect to dealing with a number of the cases that previously would have been referred to Crown Counsel, and they have been instrumental in the restorative justice that they're doing at their end. So as a result, what we're seeing as Crown Counsel are the more serious cases, either more serious violent cases, more serious repeat property offenders. And that, in terms of going forward, I think will create some very interesting opportunities for discussion in terms of how there can be increased use for those more serious cases. And from his perspective, it's a matter of increasing awareness by Crown Counsel. Now, this will be something I'll be speaking to in more detail in a moment, but at looking at restorative justice across a continuum. In other words, there's been a lot of emphasis in looking at restorative justice from alternative measures or extrajudicial sanctions, what traditionally is thought of as diversion, at the Crown Counsel stage. But it's a matter of expanding that and looking at how can we more effectively and need to be reminded of the flashlight. How can we be more effective at expanding restorative justice at the pre-sentencing stage, the sentencing stage? And for Crown Counsel, there is an ongoing obligation to look at the use of alternative measures and extrajudicial sanctions once a case has been approved and is in the court system. So again, trying to increase that awareness and use of alternative measures and extrajudicial sanctions as appropriate, even once a charge has been approved. I guess another reality is that we have been made aware of is that the schools have increased the use of restorative justice, and that's something that's obviously an extremely positive thing that's going on in this province. It means as well that we as Crown Counsel are seeing a lot less cases that involve incidents that are occurring at school. So again, just another factor that's contributing to the decrease of the number of lower level cases we're seeing. Another issue, I guess, going forward that Bob Gillen asked me to convey to you is what he sees very much is a need to increase the public's understanding about restorative justice. And in particular, there can tend to be a perception out there by the public that restorative justice approaches are soft on crime. But in reality, obviously, as you have all experienced, when speaking with people that are the involved parties in restorative justice approaches, they can in fact be a much more meaningful and responsive approach, and a very significant complementary approach to the traditional system. So increasing the public awareness and understanding of restorative justice is something that he sees as an important component with respect to increasing the use of restorative justice across this province. This also has an important link with respect to increasing public confidence, and increasing public confidence in the criminal justice system is an issue that is foremost in the criminal justice branch's mind and Bob Gillen's mind. It's something that I think you can almost open up a paper anywhere across this province on a daily basis and see that there is some article that in some level references a concern about public confidence. And in his opinion, there is a very strong link between restorative justice and increasing public confidence. And in particular, that a huge aspect in terms of increasing public confidence is increasing community engagement. And restorative justice obviously plays an incredibly important component to that. Another issue, and I touched on this just briefly a moment ago, that he intends to make a priority is looking at increasing the Crown Counsel's understanding and awareness of restorative justice. And I know that this is something that he has very much tried to do over the years with respect to, obviously, his passion for restorative justice. If I might just add my own brief comment on this point, and that is that in the coming years, and in particular by the year 2010, there's an estimate across the public service that there will be more people leaving the public service than there will be joining. In other words, we're going to have a huge gap and ultimately a huge number of new people joining organizations across the justice system, and that includes very much the Crown Counsel. So my own comment on this is that I think it can create a real opportunity in terms of if there's increased awareness and education to those new people coming into the system. It's a real opportunity to expand the awareness to those new people coming into the system about the benefits. So that is something that, in terms of increasing awareness and education, that is a big priority for Bob Gillen. He is interested in increasing their awareness, as I mentioned, across the continuum. So looking at not only how restorative justice can be more effectively used at the alternative measures or extrajudicial sanction stage, but at the pre-sentencing stage and sentencing stage. He also intends to look at continuing to identify opportunities with respect to initiatives that the branch is involved in linking those initiatives to restorative justice. And finally, something that some of you may be aware of, in recent years there has been expression of interest by some community accountability programs across the province about accepting direct referrals from Crown Counsel for alternative measures and extrajudicial sanctions. And that is something that Mr. Gillen has been very supportive of, and he's asked me to convey that he will continue very much to support direct referrals by Crown Counsel to community accountability programs that the Crown has an agreement with. So in summary, I guess in terms of his vision going forward, he sees there being a number of very positive opportunities for the expanded use of restorative justice across this province. He wishes me very much to convey to all of you that he is looking forward to the branch having an opportunity to work with all of you across the province in accomplishing that, and that it will be a collaborative effort that's really required to take restorative justice to the next level in this province. So those are the comments on behalf of Mr. Bob Gillen. If I can just add just a couple of very brief observations that I just wanted to pass on as well in terms of some of the questions that I've heard over the last day. And one is with respect to raising awareness. In terms of the media attention around the justice system, the majority of the media publications or television broadcasts tend to focus on what might be conveyed as more of the bad news stories. And I think the work that you guys are doing is so much about good news stories. and looking for an opportunity in terms of expanding the understanding of restorative justice to the public in your own communities, to be working with media and working with your communities to try and increase their awareness about what's going on, because you guys are doing so much fantastic stuff out there, and in my opinion it's just a shame that there's not more focus in the media about what you guys are doing. And finally, I had a question about working with the opportunity for community accountability programs to work with Crown Counsel and some of the challenges that maybe some of you have faced with working with Crown Counsel. And my comment on that would be that so much of this is about relationships, and so taking the opportunity to connect with your Crown Counsel, going down and meeting with them, arranging for them to come out and see what you guys are doing, having an opportunity to actually see in person the huge benefits that you are providing to your community, I think would go a long ways to building some of those relationships for any of you that are encountering any challenges in that regard. I know that I would like to think that I speak for all the Crown Counsel across the province in terms of saying that we are extremely supportive of the fantastic work you guys are doing. So a huge hat off to all of you for the amazing work, and all the best in the coming months with the projects you're involved in. So thank you very, very much again for inviting us to be a presenter at your conference.